So we're going to go live and I'll get everybody dialed in. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, it's telling us we're live. Doop, doop, doop. Okay, if anybody's on here, hello, hello. There it is. There's two people on here. Two people watching, that's probably us. Good evening. Okay, we're supposed
As
to
I say,
be
so
live.
yeah, how do we know who's here? Oh, there's somebody.
Whoops. Get the volume down. All right. We are. I got my phones working. Hello, everybody. Janet. Hey, Vicky. Hey, Sharon. Thank you for being here. You'll do a much better job with the wrench than I did last night when I completely screwed up on Adrian's channel. Blocked somebody by accident.
Well, that wasn't very nice.
I know, it wasn't nice at all. It was like I couldn't undo it. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Okay, let's see if anybody's on. Okay, no, we're not going to share. Ta-da, ta-da, ta-da. Oh, I forgot we get to read out of this book. Did you get this book?
I did.
Isn't that a great book?
It is.
We both have
Yeah,
one.
and I was really excited to find, who he was because he was one of the founders of the Omega Center.
Exactly.
And I've followed stuff of theirs for years, so that was also going, oh, that's good to know.
Hello, everybody. Hi, Paisley. Yay! We have people. We have people. Okay, I could have done better with the colors behind us, but on quick notice, figuring out technology, it'll be what it is.
It's fine.
So I'm going to just wait a few minutes for people to come on. Hey, Johnny, I'll see you later. I promise I will not touch anything on your screen. I'm going to get banished from being a wrench on everybody's platform now. Ay, ay, ay. I am going to, Carla, when I start playing music, I have to go in and change the sound. Hi, Gina. And I'm going to do that now, just play some music as people are coming in.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. Audio, we want go cancellation off, stereo on. Okay. I don't have two cameras. But that's okay. We have audio. So I'll read this now and I'll read this later. And since Carla and I met over Artist Way in our beautiful book, Alchemical Wisdom, it's a very easy sentence. Creativity is always taking a risk. Creativity is always taking a risk. And Artist Way is all about encouraging that. So we're going to do some music. And the first portion of music is going to be heart math. So start with a hand on the heart center and begin your breathing. Your breath is the original sound healing tool. That's where it starts. So I'm going to play some heart bowls. Deep breath in, expand the lungs, expand the heart. Just drop your attention, focus, and energy into your heart as you're breathing. Relax your shoulders. And just imagine that your heart, for a moment, is smiling. And you're you're touching a place of gratitude. As the sound opens everything up in your heart center, just breathe into the gratitude. And with a few breaths and your focus and your intention, you're going to breathe this gratitude from the heart to the head. Heart to head, that sacred connection, sacred weaving. As you come into harmony within your body and heart and mind, just run that energy through your body. And if you have any extra to share with the world, breathe it out like you're blowing bubbles out the front and back of your heart chakra. Supercharged, grateful love, harmony and coherence out into the field. And our alchemical wisdom quote: creativity is always taking a risk. It's always encouraging us to take a risk too. Yeah, Grace, that's actually what heart math is supposed to be doing, is dropping blood pressure and slowing us down. It's a good stress reducer. Okay, welcome, welcome. I'm very grateful that the tornado winds and storms decided to wait until later so that we can do this now. Because at first it was going to come in about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's like, no, later, after dark. So, I'm here with a friend of mine from San Antonio, Texas, Carla Pineda. And I'm going to just give you a minute just to talk about who you are, and then we can talk about how we met, because it was really funny.
It was fun. We met at a bookstore.
Of course.
Of course, yes. And so I'm getting feedback, Jodi. Is that?
Oh, hang on. That's because I haven't changed the sound. Excusez-moi. Do. Echo cancellation. There we go. Sorry about that.
Better. Okay, thank you.
Better.
So I don't know. I mean, I am an old retired therapist who decided she'd done that for too long. And so she went to a bookstore in San Antonio named Viva. It was a spiritual, religious bookstore that had been there for 40 years to take a little bit of a sabbatical. And it turned into 17 years. My parents owned a bookstore. My parents and my grandparents owned a bookstore when my mother was pregnant with me, if my math is right. And so, and my mother was an English teacher. So reading and writing, inform just about everything that I do. And when I was in my own therapy, I discovered the discipline of journaling, and pretty much saved it didn't save my life, but it saved my hide for sure when I needed it. And so I began to use it as a tool with women I worked in alcohol and drug abuse counseling, and started using it with them, and then began doing workshops and such with it. And now have bins of old journals around the house and still journal every day. And it's just a part of who I am. And so it's kind of how I met Jodi. She came to Viva to do some workshops, and well, tell them about that.
Who was it that referred me in there? There was a
I don't
mutual friend.
remember.
Was it Tina? I don't
Might have
remember.
been,
Might have
might
been
have
Tina.
been Tina.
Yeah, this was during the time. I think I was living out at the ranch in Bernie, so I was on a 400-acre ranch and traveling full time in Texas. And I was referred in to meet Carla into this very I mean, it was what, an Episcopalian Catholic bookstore providing
Yeah,
books for the churches. And, and I'm the sound healing shamanic weird one, riding the pickup truck off in the dust. And we sat down with, okay, what can we do with to have me teach something that would be a good cover? We need a good cover here.
how can we get you in the door?
How do we get me in the door? And of course, it had to entail, buying books. We had to have books available for sale, and I had cut my teeth on Artist's Way when I first sobered up. My birthday was yesterday. I've got 36 years of sobriety now.
Woohoo!
Holy mackerel! I didn't think I'd live this long. Um, but Artist's Way. What I used to teach Artist's Way when the book first came out, and I first started using it. So we planned an Artist's Way class, and it was funny because I was reading your about information on your website and learned some things I didn't know. And I didn't know that you were primarily working with women, because every class I taught there, we opened it co-ed. We never had anything but women in these classes. I mean, ever, ever, ever. Now I get it. And, so I'm teaching Artist's Way the way I teach Artist's Way, which is not normal. It's very shamanic and a lot of inner child work. And the people that were taking it, I think Kathy was one of these, were looking at me going, "You don't teach this the way other people do." I'm like, yeah, you're right. But that's how it started. So then we just got creative, like, okay, what books can we get, to have a really cool class, with these really cool women. Some fun times.
It was fun.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah, and then I remember the times that we came out. There was a bunch of us that would come out to see you
At the ranch. Yeah.
at the ranch, and we'd hike and
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
we had fun out there. Well, Bernie was what, about 45 minutes away?
no, if that, yeah. I mean, it takes that long now because traffic is worse, but
Yeah.
it wasn't quite that far.
Yeah. The good old days.
Yes, and then you went and left, and Viva closed, and
I know. I know. And the restaurant that was next
the
door, the
vegan restaurant. Oh, and Taco
vegan,
Garage, it closed too.
oh my God. We had a vegan Mexican restaurant in part of Viva that was the best food I have ever tasted, period, hands down to this day. God, they
It,
were,
it is good. They're still up. They moved over to the west side of town, so they're still around.
they're still around. Yeah, I haven't been in San Antonio in forever.
Well, you need to come see us.
I know, except that means really long drive now.
I know. I know.
So, Carla journals and teaches journaling, and I wrote down sacred journaling somewhere about this, because everything I know about you and your journaling, which is very much part of Artist's Way and obviously very much part of your life, you make journaling more sacred than most people I know. And just the pictures of your altars that you post, and your setup for writing, you make it a ceremony. So can you talk about that a little bit, of how you make it different?
Well, for me, I mean, it's not just a discipline. It is a discipline and it is a practice. The practice of journaling as a spiritual practice, practicing makes it possible.
Mm-hmm.
And my practice is very organic. It's very fluid.
Mm-hmm.
I use prompts loosely. A lot of times I just start wherever I am, um, and just kind of see what ends up on the page. I don't know if things like, if any of you have looked at my Instagram page, there are pictures that are in yellow with
Mm-hmm.
quotes, and those are all quotes out of my journal that I'll just go and pull. And I don't, after I've been doing this for 30 years, I was thinking about it the other day about how long it's been. And I literally have bins of journals, and I have stacks. You can't see right now, but I usually go through. This is this year's journal, and it's
Mm-hmm.
the size that I always use because it's really portable. Um, I go through about 10 or 12 of those a year, but I only write on one side of the page, the right side, because the left side is left for harvesting and pulling things out.
Oh, what a good idea. So when you want to go get quotes, you'll just write
Mm-hmm.
them over there,
Right,
like you're writing
exactly.
in the borders.
So
Oh, that's a good
it's
idea.
very embodied. It's very organic.
Mm-hmm.
There's very little form to it.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
might be a quote.
Mm-hmm.
It might be kind of like morning pages.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm not real good at morning pages. I've tried to do them separately before, and it doesn't really work for me. Um, I always start with, I date the page, I put the day of the week, and I put the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Always do that. And then, let's see, like, I mean, it's like down one side only.
That's a
And
great.
this side over here is blank. I use a dot journal now with little
Uh-huh.
dots,
Uh-huh.
so that if I want to sketch or put something else in there, I can. A lot of prayer goes into my journal. It might be a written prayer from someone else that really speaks to me. It might be my own prayer practice that
Mm-hmm.
goes in there. Probably, the keywords for me are organic and embodied, and whatever shows up on the page
Yeah. Yeah.
is so there is the spiritual piece of it, and it is a process, and it is a journey.
I'm chatting in the chat about defining what morning pages are.
Oh yeah. 3 pages, stream of consciousness.
Yeah, morning pages comes from the Artist's Way assignments. There's the morning pages and the artist state. And morning pages is like a first thing when you get up and you just write a stream of consciousness for 3 pages, no matter what. And it's interesting in the way I teach Artist's Way now. All of us love oracle cards, so we pull we have different decks of cards, and we pull a card and use that as the prompt in the morning pages, which is really fun.
I
And
have like 3 decks on my desk right now,
exactly, yeah, you do the same thing.
different ones.
Evening review babble for morning pages. I love that. Thanks,
Also index cards with things written on them
Ooh.
that are kind of like my own deck, and so I'll go
Mhm.
back into them
Mhm.
and pull. So those are on my desk.
God, that is so. So your whole desk is dedicated to your journaling practice.
I call it, it's a table.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I call it my writing table, and
Oh,
it is where I work. I am now managing another bookstore in San Antonio that right now is currently only online.
ooh.
It's the bookstore at St. Mark's Episcopal Church. It's a small independent Episcopal bookstore.
Oh, neat.
And we're not in a physical space right now because of, number one, because of the pandemic, but number two, right about the same time that happened, we had a major scaffolding fall on the parish house, which closed it down. It's been 2 years now, so we're
Ooh.
almost ready to move back into a new space. But so I work on my laptop and from home as the manager of the
Yeah.
bookstore, and I also have half the stock in my second bedroom. Uh, my husband's given up asking when that was going to go away. So it is my spiritual space. It's my it is my it's an
Yeah.
altar.
Yeah.
Jodi, one of my bowls is on the table, and then if you can see
Uh-huh.
behind me,
Uh-huh. Oh
that's
yeah, there's
one of
another
my
one.
that's my bookcase and another bowl and an altar on top of the bookcase. One of my
Yeah.
bookcases.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it is. It's my sacred space, and
That
it's
is
at the
so
end of
cool.
our kitchen, and I can
I see
close the
that. Yeah, I'm like,
kitchen off.
that's a
That's the
refrigerator.
refrigerator.
You can
Yes,
eat
yes.
really
And
easily.
and the refrigerator is covered with children, with grandchildren. So, um, which is part of my, all 8 of them. So, uh,
Did you have any grandchildren when we first met?
Paul had older. We have 2 older
Uh-huh.
granddaughters, and then we've reconnected with his son, who has 4 boys under the age of 12, and then
Wow.
my daughter has a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old, and I don't
Okay.
remember.
I
Maybe
remember
Clara had been
the
born.
10-year-old
Yeah,
was just being born back in
yeah,
the Aviva days. Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
yeah. And they now live in Austin. They lived in DC before, so
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, they're in
Well, at least
Austin
we're
now.
closer.
Hmm.
My goodness, time goes
Yes,
by.
I know.
Holy moly.
Yeah, lots of
So,
changes.
one of the prompts for today, because the lake's out the window over there, um, there's a bald eagle that lives on this lake, and we were just chatting before we went live, and the bald eagle came into the window and then flew up over it and went back out over the lake, which is a wonderful animal card to pull in the real world. And this is actually the second time he's come in today. He came in for a session that I was doing in the sunroom. So I'm going to share what eagle medicine means for me in the training that I received, because it's relevant for what we're doing in our sacred practices, whatever they are. Um, Eagle medicine is based on the thought that we are all hollow bones. So this is a hollow, I can't get it pointed right. This is a hollow bone. This is actually a crystal bowl wand, but it's hollow in the center. And what eagle medicine says is the standing two-legged people, that would be humans. Standing one-legged people are the trees. They're also have the hollow energy in their wood. Um, our job here on the planet is to be the conduit between heaven and earth, and to actually be intentional prayers, people who pray, people who intend, beings who speak, sing, play music, play the sacred into the world by standing firm on earth and having our psychic branches up in the sky. So we got that animal card in real life before we started today, and that's so much for me about what journaling, sacred journaling can be, is connecting, using words in a way where we actually change the world through what we say and how we speak it, how we write it. Because writing on pages, you're putting energy out in the world, even if nobody reads it. It's still going out there. So that was it was like, oh my God, he's back. Yay. So somebody had a question up. I'm gonna go back and look at questions. Beep 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 beep. And if anybody has a question, please ask. Somebody was asking. Okay, so what kind of therapist? You answered that with the addiction therapist.
Right. Actually, I was an alcohol and drug abuse counselor. Yeah.
Okay.
And burned out basically because I was working with teenagers and I had teenagers at home.
Oh
So
my
that
God.
didn't work. That didn't work too well.
That's
Then went on to become a certified spiritual director, which I still am. So I
yeah,
also do spiritual
yeah,
direction. So.
yeah. Yeah, shamanically speaking, that's what I am too. Just
Yeah,
a
different
different
term.
religion.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I was perusing your website. This has been so much fun because, people that I don't even know have websites, I'm finding them for these interviews. Like, I didn't know this. You have you have a workshop, and I don't have it open to look at it. Something about writing in the dirt.
I do.
Uh-huh. It was something that could be created for a weekend or for a
Hmm.
few hours. What does writing in the dirt mean?
I really don't remember. Um,
It must have been
Probably,
a quote from your journal.
yeah, a long time. It could have been. Could have been. I think, I do a lot of nature writing workshops. I have some places where, hopefully now that things are opening back up, that are, just beautiful settings that are outside. There's an open pavilion in one of them that's screened in that we can use. And so, writing in the dirt also comes out of some of Mary Oliver's work. I use a lot of poetry
Yeah,
for prompts. A
yeah.
friend of ours, who actually is on here today, used to have a gallery in a place called Los Patios in the middle of San Antonio, and you would never have known that you were in the middle of the city. And
It's
we would do
Kathy, right?
Kathy, yeah. We would do those kinds of workshops with, you know, not physically writing in the dirt, but
Mhm,
just
mhm.
being aware of nature and what that means and connecting with it.
Yeah, yeah. And this isn't, I mean, Kathy, I remember the one you opened in Bernie when I was out there. This was in the middle of San Antonio, right? De Los Patios.
Yeah, that one was. It was right off of the interstate, off the loop.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
San Antonio has some amazing parks. I'm really impressed
Hmm.
how they build nature into the city. It's very cool.
Yeah.
So, do you
I'm
have?
just.
Are you-
I'm looking at my. I'm looking at my Facebook on my. Not my Facebook, but my Instagram with some of the quotes that I
yeah,
have posted that come out of my journal. Um,
read us some.
so I was looking to see if there was one that was kind of like writing in pieces. What gets written down in the present moment is what needs to get written down. It may continue to stand on its own or get woven into the tapestry of the next blank page. Keep the pen moving. Just a line at a time is good. Notice the rhythms of the words, the beating of your heart as you move across the blank slate.
God, that's beautiful. So you're writing poetry
It's
as well.
poetic prose, I
Poetic
guess.
prose, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, if you want to give it a name, I mean, and I don't know that that's what I'm doing when I do it. I find those when I go back and harvest my journals,
Mhm,
and I
mhm,
harvest on a pretty regular basis. I'm going through an annual harvest right now. I go back through the year. One of
mhm,
the things that I've also done, I work with a spiritual director. I think
mhm,
anybody who
mhm.
does that kind of work needs to have a spiritual director.
Yes.
And my spiritual director is a retired Episcopal priest. She's an author, writer,
Mhm, mhm.
amazing woman. And I've worked with her for, I think, about 18 years now.
Wow.
So she knows me probably better than I know myself.
Wow.
And what I will do sometimes with her, and this is the kind of the organic, embodied process that I talk about, is I see her monthly.
Mhm,
So I will look back at my calendar, and I use a paper calendar. My paper calendar is almost an extension of my journal sometimes because
mhm,
I'll make
mhm.
notes in it. I can't calendar on the computer. Doesn't work. Um, I'm too much of a circular hands-on thinker.
Mhm.
Um, so I will go back and go through my journal notes from the time I saw her the last time and circle just very randomly anything that pops off the page at me.
Mhm, mhm.
I'm not looking for anything. It's just what I
Yeah,
see.
yeah.
Circle phrases or words. And then I actually type them out on the computer double spaced. So it's almost like a litany or a prayer. I
Ooh.
take that to my session with her, and
Ooh,
read that to her. And she helps me connect the dots.
that is so cool.
So for any of you that, if you can relate to this, and she helped me understand this about the way I think and process. And that's why this kind of journaling works so well for me. I'm a
Mhm,
real circular thinker.
mhm,
I
mhm.
cannot think, you know, to the horror of my mother, the English teachers, whatever. I never I never wrote an outline first when I did a paper for my English classes. I would write my paper the day before in the morning of the class, I'd write the outline.
Mhm.
Drove my mother nuts,
Nuts.
but it worked. And my director explained to me, she said, "You're a circular thinker.
Mhm,
Your
mhm,
thoughts go like this.
mhm, mhm.
It's even spiral. They'll go down, they'll go
I was
back
saying,
up.
it
Yeah,
sounds like
yeah.
a
Just
spiral, yeah.
and she says, then all of a sudden they kind of coalesce right back here and they go flump.
Uh-huh. Oh, that is so cool.
And
I
it was
love it.
so affirming and so comforting to understand that, I wasn't, that there were people who think like that.
Well, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so by keeping that blank side of the page, I can pull those pieces out and
Mhm.
then get them in a almost outline form, maybe, so it
Yes.
kind of
Yeah.
puts them in a linear thought process instead of, kind of all fragmented.
Mhm.
And that's where most of those journal or those kind of quotes that are on my Instagram, and I think they're on
Oh,
my Facebook page too. Those are where
uh-huh.
those come from,
So
out of that process.
somebody in the chat is asking if you can be if I can't talk tonight, if you're willing to be quoted. Let me, if she writes it in writes your name,
Sure.
can she quote you?
Just, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised you don't have a book published already on this,
Oh,
actually.
I have one sister who keeps saying, I'm just going, and she's the sister who's the English teacher and thinks like this. I mean, we're so
Mhm,
different. It's not even funny.
mhm.
And I don't know. I mean, I know the process to get it there. I just haven't gotten it there yet.
Yeah, okay. It's there. It's there. Okay. There are more questions. I'm looking
Okay.
at the YouTube channel where the questions are.
Okay.
Yes,
Mm.
definitely layers of an onion.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That's a beautiful metaphor for the process.
yeah.
Yes.
One of the women, no guys, like usual. One of the women in my Artist Way class that we're finishing up in a few weeks, um, she will take notes in spirals and designs. She'll write
Hmm.
words so that the words are on the page like a moving spiral picture.
Uh huh.
It's just the most amazing thing I've ever seen. When she holds one of those up, it's just like, wow. So she'll draw pictures and it's words.
Hmm.
That's how she's inspiring her creativity to get out of the linear mode, because we all can
Right.
get, and to actually write and journal in swirls and pictures and
Hmm. Hmm.
spirals. It's been really cool.
Um, I'm trying to see if I can show you an example. Okay, so like there's a gal that I follow that she's an artist. She's a painter.
Hmm.
She has a process that's called painting the feminine divine.
Ooh.
And I've done some of the painting stuff, but I get as much out of just her notes and things.
Hmm.
So I was listening to one of her classes one morning, and this is let's see if I can get it where you can see it. Yeah, can't get it.
I know it's hard to figure it
Yeah,
out.
no, let's see, where am I going here? Because yeah, okay, so see,
You're like
it,
little bubbles.
just little bubbles. Yeah, little
Hmm.
bubbles.
Hmm.
So that's another way, particularly if you are a linear thinker,
Hmm.
use unlined paper in your journal.
Yeah.
I can't use lined paper at all because I automatically think I'm in school, and the sentence structure has to be right and the spelling has to be right and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
For a long, long time, I used just blank paper, and then I started using the little dot journals, which you can barely see them.
Mhm.
But that helps break that structure of kind of rigidity sometimes in your
Yeah,
writing.
yeah, yeah,
And so just make notes upside down, right side up, use
yeah.
a different colored pen,
Yep, yep,
use, markers of different
yep.
kinds, and then sometimes circling them and bubbling them is a way to, yeah, there you go.
My
Yeah,
artist way pens.
mine are in here. Um, so, um, but I used to think that I said, I, I learned to do that as a way to be able to track my thoughts the way
Hmm.
they came out on paper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember taking a course, oh God, years ago in Austin that was designed by Buckminster Fuller. It was a relationship with money class of all things, and
Wow.
interesting. And one of the first things that we received when we started was a journal and a pack of, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 colored pens, and that was what we started with. And his belief was, if okay, you want to play the bowls, his belief was if you had multiple pens in different colors and took notes and created that way, you would obviously open up both sides of the brain, and you would remember what you were writing better. I mean,
Yes.
it would integrate better. So I've always done that. I mean, even when I'm doing sessions, I have 2 pens with me at all times, and they're different colors.
Right.
And it's just, it's fun.
Yeah.
Color is
It
fun.
is. It's a whole different energy. Now, there's also sometimes if I want to slow my writing down and be a little bit more thoughtful and intentional, fountain pen.
Ow, they still make them.
Oh, this one, yeah. My husband gave me this one years ago, and I had stopped using it.
Oh,
It's a very nice fountain pen. Um, and so I took it out the other day, cleaned it up, figured out how to fill the cartridges.
that is
And so
so.
I have to write really slow with it and intentional.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
used to use those.
Yeah.
So
So it's
yeah, just
it's a different process.
the art of writing, and it's so this. It's funny when I do Artist Way, because people want to start, writing on their computers or their phones, and it's like, you have to have that visceral flow of energy through your body and your hands onto the paper for it to mean anything.
Yeah. It's very embodied. I'm going to see, I've got a book. I always have to recommend a book.
Of course.
And this is, I think the only place I've been able to find this book is on Amazon. And I'm not an Amazon fan because I'm
I
an
know
independent
you're a
bookseller,
small
but,
bookstore.
but this book is called Embodied Inquiry, Writing, Living, and Being Through the Body.
Ooh.
And it's kind of academic. She is
Mhm.
a Canadian. She's a dancer and a poet.
Ooh.
Um, and this book just really opened up a lot of kind of channels for me.
Mhm.
It has chapters, um, Let the Body Out, Solitude and Physicality, Waking Up to the Sensuous, Writing from the Body,
Mhm. Mhm.
Listening in the Body, An
Mhm.
Ecology of the Body in Paradox. And I mean, mine is marked up all over the place.
Oh wow,
Um,
cool.
so it kind of goes along. There's research, and there are people who have written
Right.
about this, at a academic
Mhm.
theological level.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
was going, oh, that's so affirming because I really, for a long time, thought I was losing it
And
because I couldn't do 3 pages, morning pages in lined
yeah,
notebooks like Julia Cameron said to do. I cannot do it. I never could. I gave up trying, but I
yeah,
still use a lot of those ideas and practices. I just
mhm.
do them differently.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's I've been teaching Artist Way for so long that we have to grow with the times. I mean, I love
Mhm.
her basic format, and things change. over
Right.
20 some odd
Right.
years. So yeah,
Yes.
things have changed.
Have you used her book? It's Never Too Late to Begin Again.
I am going to teach from that one next year
Okay.
because
I'm thinking about it.
the monthly or the weekly topics are totally different.
Mhm.
Yeah, and she's got a
Yeah.
new one out this year on sacred listening. I'm like, oh, I'm going
Yes.
to go from that one too. Yeah, I love her work. I mean, she completely changed my life because that's how I started my therapy and my recovery. Hi, Alina. Welcome, welcome. She's late to the party. She's late to the party. So one of the things that I'm hearing my guides talk about as we're talking, they're always talking, um, is channeled writing, which is something I do
Mhm.
a lot. I've done it for years. And channeled writing for me, I really, really learned how much I do that when I did my first artist way class, back 30 some odd years ago, because I would go back, I would break the rules to go back and look at what I wrote once in a while, and it was like, where did that come from and who wrote it? Because channeled writing is very much a way of doing shamanic journey. Is ask a question, I will write the question down and then just write, whatever comes through, and the physical pen or pencil or crayon or whatever you're writing with, answers come through that way.
Yes.
And that's what part of what I'm seeing you do in the way you journal and then harvest things out of the journals.
Mhm.
And I have looked at information coming through my body as channeled information that is utterly amazing. It's a fun process. So if y'all haven't tried that, that's fun too. You just ask a question
Yeah.
and receive the answer by writing and see what happens,
Right.
or color.
The Yeah, using you will get a whole lot more mileage out of your journaling time with the use of questions.
Yes,
And use open-ended questions,
yes,
not a yes or no answer question,
exactly.
but an open-ended question.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
and that's something that, when I first started working with shamanic journey and inner child work and trauma work and all the stuff that I do, um, I had guides that said the quality of my growth would be based on the quality of my questions, not the answers. The
mhm.
quality of the questions, the pure act of being able to ask questions. And I've run shamanic journey groups, women's groups mainly over the years, and it's amazing to me how few people can come up with questions to ask. And it's like, how do you expect to learn how to do this if you're not asking questions?
You know,
So,
you may have a question surface at a time when you're not writing. Write it down somewhere. Even keep a list of questions in the back of your journal. And
exactly.
if you go to the page and you don't have anything to write, pull one of those
Pull one of the
questions.
questions out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or keep them on index cards.
Yeah. Yeah. And I
Um,
have discovered, this is actually really funny. I have discovered on my iPhone that there is a place where I can speak into it and Google will translate it into words. Yeah,
ah,
so I have, if I've had that kind of stream of consciousness come up when I don't have anything to write on or with, I'll start talking. And I'm the kind that, technology is still so magically funny to me that I'll start laughing when I'm doing that. And the poor thing is typing ha 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 ha, and I'm howling. It makes me laugh even harder. It's like, stop, turn it off, stop laughing, and start again. It's pretty funny. I used to drive a lot, and I would actually have a tape recorder back in the old days. Have a tape recorder in the car that I could. This is way before iPhones, that I could speak into to
exactly.
write down my questions or my channelings that was
Yeah,
happening when I
that's a
drove.
great, and that's a great, journaling kind of complementary tool. Is to just blah 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 blah. Even if it's just this little kind of snippet. The writer Annie Lamont says she never leaves home without a 3x5 index card. and a
which is
pencil in her back pocket. She says, I never know when this little snippet of some sort of a thought or a question is going
yeah,
to surface.
yep,
And she said it can become, the foundation for a whole essay.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you need to, hang on to those little
yes.
things.
Yeah, one of the things that I do for my physical health is a trampoline, like a more medically
Mm.
induced trampoline. And boy, there are some days where I'm bouncing and it's like bounce, bounce. Oh, I got to go write that down, get off, write it down. Kind of like it's really, like great information comes through when I'm just moving my body up and down on the planet. It's really funny. So if you all out in the audience world have questions, please type them. I'm paying attention to both Facebook and YouTube. And I have my questions that I like to ask. So, the first one. In the times that you meditate and go into your heart and find the heart wisdom, what does it show you about why you are here on this planet at this time?
It just affirms that this kind of love of words and writing, and a hashtag that I use a lot is reading and writing a life.
I wrote
Is
it down, yeah.
yeah, it's DNA. It's
Mm-hmm.
I can't not do it.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother was a frustrated writer. My mother was an English teacher. They're the ones who had a bookstore. There was no such thing as a banned book in my life. I could read anything I wanted to, but I had to go to my mother and talk to her about it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it just, I did a book table the other night, an in-person book table for the first time in a couple of years because we've not been doing those. And this was a private uh, invitation only for a woman that asked us to do it. And selling books and talking about books and talking about something that someone has written is a high for me. I just that's what it tells me. It's just I am energized by it,
Uh-huh.
and I
Yeah.
know that when that happens, I am doing what I'm called to do. It's
Beautiful.
not a job; it's a vocation.
Right. Right. It's
And
a
that,
purpose.
vocation is where your greatest joy meets the world's greatest need. That's from
Yes.
Frederick Buechner. And that's that sweet spot for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Thank you. Question two. Ancient alchemy. This comes out of our alchemy book. Ancient alchemy transmuted lead into gold. The human heart transmutes shadow into light with alchemical intention. We have to be intending to do it. How has that process shown up in your life?
It's the same answer. I mean, it's because it's so organic and
Mm-hmm.
it's so embodied in who I am.
Mm-hmm.
To be around books and to be around writing and my journaling process, it, it's not what I do; it's who I am.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I remember that about you when we used to work together. I mean, it's just the most magical times of those years was the magic of coming up with another class from a book,
Hmm.
because we would I think I would go around the store finding books that called to me, and we would literally create magic out of this thing that was sitting on the shelf.
Hmm.
Like, here's an idea, order some, we're doing a class. It was
Yeah,
really fun. It was a neat
yeah,
way to design classes.
right.
I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that. Yeah, Kathy's talking about your book recommendations on Facebook. Uh-huh. I would have to agree with that. I would have to agree with that. So you've done workshops over the years.
Mhm.
COVID, I guess the pandemic took that down or
Pretty
kept
much, yeah,
it.
yeah.
And yeah, we did have fun. And what are you going to do as things open up? Are you going to stay on Zoom, or are you going to start them in person again?
Well, I will do some more in-person stuff. I will continue to do, at least for now, the one writing circle that I have that's been meeting for so long. But hope to be able to go back to doing some online and or in-person
Mhm.
workshops. One of the other things that I'm doing is I'm a co-facilitator for a group that's called the Wisdom Years, which is a ministry to seems to be primarily women. We get a few men that straggle into some of the classes. Right now, we're totally on Zoom. Ministry to women in the last third of life,
Really?
not midlife, last
Yeah,
third. So
yeah.
it's eldering, it's
Hmm.
becoming an elder. You know, it's using a lot of Clarissa Pinkola Estez's work, Jean Shinoda Boland's work.
Yeah.
Um, and so I'm helping facilitate that. A good friend of mine started it. You can actually go to the Wisdom Years. I think it's .org. And check out her website. She's amazing in and of herself. So hopefully, we're talking about beginning to do some workshops once things open back up. And
Mm.
then I am kind of looking at, I mean, like my list. I mean, here's a partial list of some of the stuff that I do.
Hmm.
And I'm probably going to revamp some of them because I haven't done them in 2 years. So I kind of,
Yeah.
things change. Beginning the journal experience, reading and writing a life, which looks at books. Why are we drawn to certain books? Women writing and spirituality, writing from and into our bodies, women in friendship, um,
Hmm.
the creative journey, writing from our senses, um, the nature workshops. Those are actually newer for me. I had started doing some of those just kind of prior to the pandemic.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, so, and journaling with Mary Oliver. I love to use the poets.
Yeah. Yeah.
So hopefully we'll begin to do some more of those things, either in person and or online, maybe even hybrid. I don't know. There's
Hmm.
so many. It's one of the gifts that's come out of the pandemic and some of the limitations is that there are a lot more possibilities.
Yes.
Isn't that funny how that works?
I know. Well, and what I find so interesting about what happened is I was guided to start working on Zoom 2 years before the pandemic
Mm-hmm.
and figuring out how to do sound online and how to design classes and workshops online. And so when we got locked down in Texas, I was so grateful that I had already perfected that part. It was just like, okay, I know how to do this. It may not be ideal. It's more fun doing it in person, and at least I can still work. And now that I've run away from home in Texas, moved to the country in Arkansas, it's about the only way I can work. It's pretty funny. I had a session today with a client I haven't seen since I was in Texas, and she wanted a sound activation, clearing chakras and everything that I do. And I put my iPad on a tripod that I can pick up with one hand and hike up and down the stairs. And I worked in the new healing room I set up here upstairs, and worked in the living room with a few gongs, and worked in the sunroom with the heart math bowls, and then ran downstairs for the rest. And it was just like, it translates, it works. And it's fun going around the whole house doing it too. I've really been enjoying that.
Yeah.
It's been fun. Okay. Kathy Cody Galloway's been asking about who started the group.
The wisdom group. Is she asking about the wisdom group?
Yeah.
Yes. The Wisdom Years was started by a woman by the name of Marjorie George.
Okay. Okay. That's what she was saying. Okay. So I guess her mother, yeah, she found it. Her mother started one too.
Yeah.
My goodness. That is so exciting. Let's see. It's 54 minutes in. I am going to play a little bit more music before we sign off. So let me mess around with the audio again. Okay, get that off, get that on. And you're not going to be able to see this because I only have one camera, but I'm actually going to go over there and play gong. So, this gong is actually my storm gong, so I'm going to tune her up for the thunderstorms and possible tornadoes we're getting tonight. And she plays more of the earth-based realm of notes. So just take a very deep breath and tune into Mother Earth. Thank you, Vicki. It's a nice honoring. Okay, you all sounded good. The storm sounded good. we're good. I can tell with that gong because I read psychically with all my instruments or read whoever I'm working with. Um, I can tell before a storm comes how bad it's going to be by what that gong does. And she actually was singing really nicely, so that means I don't have to sleep in the sunroom with all the windows to see what's coming. They always come right across the lake. It's like, yeah, my own bed. So, Carla, do you have anything that you want to say to close?
I don't think so. I think, just pick up that pen and, see what shows up on the blank slate.
Yeah,
And you have to show up.
yeah.
You have to show up. Practice makes possible. And they're toss out the practice makes perfect because that's the one we always think of. And
I'm
practice
gonna,
makes
I'm gonna write that
practice makes possible comes from a woman by the name of Peggy Tabor Millen, who wrote a book called Women Writing and Soul Making.
Women
Writing and Soul Making.
soul making.
Yes. Hard book for some people to read because it's written in spirals and circles.
Ooh, oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah, it's a very interesting read, very powerful writing book. And even if bring your body to the same spot, kind of in the same time frame, if you can, on a regular daily basis. Even if the only thing you write on the page is the date and the time, and you can't get anything else, That's okay. Your body will begin to remember that.
Ooh,
Do
I love
slash re slash member.
member. Yeah, yeah,
Member as in membrane. It becomes
yes,
woven in to you. And that's what makes writing an embodied process.
yes, yes. Oh, thank you. I know. I'm excited. It's like, oh, I can pull out a journal and start doing this like that.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. Thank you. It's really
Thank
good
you.
being with you again.
I miss you so much. You have no idea.
Too. And Kathy, Cody, I miss you too. My goodness, the Sacred Sisters are on tonight.
Kathy and I may have to make a road trip one of these days.
I think that'd be a really good idea. It's a very good idea. Thank you all for joining us, and check out Carla's website. I had a really good time on her website. It's like, oh, look at that workshops. Ooh. And I will see you all next week. I honestly don't even remember who's up next week. I don't remember. I'll figure it out. And Kathy's like, yeah, she's like, okay, we're doing a road trip. You guys have to drive further from where I lived in the Dallas area. This is only 5 hours away, which is like going from Dallas to Houston. So, Adrian, thank you for being here. So, thank you all. Carla, I love you.
I love you too. Thank you.
Good to see you. Thank you for just explaining all this. I mean, it's like, ooh, yes, yes. And I will see you all next week. And much love to everybody out there in YouTube and Facebook land. And thank you.